Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. Today we got the Jeju Lemons Endurance Double, which is another one of those events that I planned out for the TWL server. So yeah, this happened a few weeks ago. I just got a lot of footage from this. It's two 30-minute races. I could have maybe made a video for each race, but I decided to just watch back the footage, get some timestamps for the highlights and go with that instead. So yeah, I'll be jumping ahead through these videos. If you want to see the raw footage, that's also on YouTube in the Motortown playlist. Just gonna scroll down a bit from the post-commentary race. So yeah, let's get going. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but we'll do that while also looking at the footage. The thing I need to explain first is that while both races are about 30 minutes, the first one has a 2-minute lap time and 15 laps. The second one, 50-minute lap times going for 2 laps. So here we are. And yeah, I started in the second row. I'm about to overtake Luggage and get into second place actually. I also don't know what happened to Luggage there, but if we look at the list on the left, in a moment they are just gonna fall back in line. So might have spun out there. Toretto in first place, but taking a really risky line, missing the checkpoint by a hair. I managed to get the checkpoint, but only just. So I'm in first place now, going along the back roads of Jeju City before we finally get into town. This is actually a really tricky section of the track, especially with the upcoming corner. Really tough finding the right braking point here, not braking a mile too early or completely overshooting. But I managed to get it about right, which I sadly cannot say for the next turn. Yeah, just spun out. With how Neri was pointing at me, I think they had about almost the same thing happening, but managed to correct there. I was able to do that, so I lost 4 positions, now in 5th. But yeah, we're gonna see how it works out from here. It's still all open. The thing is, though, right before the race I had dinner, and I still remember just getting very, very tired, almost falling into a food coma. So that's a bit of a handicap, especially in a race that's quite demanding, both with the car and how long the races are. I mean, in endurance terms, 30 minutes are nothing, but for this game, with how involved everything is, you're gonna be fighting for quite a while. Especially with this car, which I think I might also now have some time to talk about. At least after this overtaking attempt on Ronhol. Doesn't quite work because I just don't have the line through that turn. Ronhol just shoots past me on the outside. But yeah, starting out with this event planning, I didn't really settle on the car for a while. I just wanted to have condensed endurance racing, so having a shorter time span but also still doing some pit stops. With this game that can of course happen for damage, which is up to every player on their own. It can happen for tire failure or tires slowly wearing down, which is something that you can basically force by having a car that's too heavy for the tires. And the last thing that you can do is look for a car that has a relatively small fuel tank and put a large engine in it. Yeah, me just going off track, but looking at the map, the people in 6 and 7 really must have missed the braking zone there. So yeah, I decided to go for smaller fuel tanks because that seemed more predictable, and yeah, I also just kind of wanted to have something with a racing aesthetic. So going with a big truck or something, going with a van or the SUV wasn't really my style for this one. When it comes to smaller fuel tanks, I had quite a few options. A lot of cars have 50 liters, which is generally okay, unless you go with really large V8 engines. But there are two options with even smaller fuel tanks than that. And the one that I went with is obviously the Mickey with its 35 liter fuel tank. The smallest option would have been the Daffy with 20 liters. The Daffy cannot really be customized with any aftermarket spoilers or so. So to get something that looks a bit like a race car didn't work out with it. And honestly, I thought that 20 liters was maybe a bit too much on the extreme side. We might try that at some point. Maybe we go for 3 20-minute races next or something. And make it more like a classic car meet mile miglia, or what it's called. But for this one, Mickey seemed like the best fit. And yeah, going back to the stuff that's happening on screen, Chess has really caught up with me, and that might become a problem later, but we'll have to see. For now, I'm still in the lead over him. I mean, not really the lead, but yeah. Not quite the active fight for 5th position quite yet. So yeah, that's how we ended up with this car. I decided to try it out with a 240 horsepower V8. And I just fell in love with it. It's fun. Might not be the same opinion on this as everybody else in the race. There were a few people who had some complaints, which is kinda understandable. But honestly, from what I've seen, some people also didn't spend too much time with the setup, so that's kinda required here. I mean, I get it, you can't always make the time, and finding the right setup isn't always something that's too fun to begin with. Almost overcooked the corner there. So yeah, I got a good setup. I'm having my fun with it, and in the end the way it drives is... It's a really front-heavy, front-wheel drive car with a strong engine. So while the rear can get light and start moving about, in the end, if you point it in a direction and hit the gas, it's just gonna go there. So that's what makes it fun, in my opinion. You can be kinda rough with it as long as you are smooth. So, kinda fun. If you wanna try out this exact setup, by the way, I got it on the workshop. And here I'm overcooking the corner, and I think this is also where I'm losing the position. Yep. Coming back onto track right behind Chessbot, and also kinda having a rough time here. It's gonna get better sooner or later. Those are going to be the laps that I won't be showing you guys. But yeah, if you want to try out the setup, it's on the workshop number 156566. So 156, 566. And yeah, I'm saying this also because I'm highly considering to do something like this again. The car is too fun to not do it once more at least. But yeah, we are slowly getting to the end of the night, which is also going to help me out. I'm running with 70% moonlight brightness, which I think is really... it's fun for regular driving. It's kinda giving it a good atmosphere. But for racing, other people are running with 200% moonlight brightness. They don't even turn on the headlights at night. Oh, here we come around to another little incident. Both Chess and me are missing the braking point for the corner. Chess got it a bit worse, but I wasn't able to capitalize on that. If I stayed on track, I would have had my position back. But so we are still going to fight for it. So let me check the next thing on my highlight list here. We basically went through 2 highlights already without skipping anything. But it's time to skip ahead a little bit to around 10 minutes. Because that's when we are finally doing, oh no, that's before the pit stop even. Yeah, Chess went a bit too far on the inside. I was able to make the turn. It really had an understeering moment. It's really tough getting the right braking zone there because you need to kind of steer all the time but also hit the brakes, and I basically locked up the wheels too much. I should have also hit the pit stop at this time. Just going off right again over there, so getting back my position. But yeah, I need 2 pit stops, basically the same as everybody else, and there is no real advantage doing it later. Going at 33 and 66% of the race is kinda recommended, and I just completely missed that. And now I'm getting the low fuel warning. I can do about a lap on low fuel, but it's just gonna be a bit rough potentially. But yeah, let's go over and watch the actual pit stop. Coming back around over here. Thankfully didn't miss that because that would have been really bad. Just about getting into the interaction point. Leaving space for Chess. Standing here together, and this was maybe a bit slower than it could have been, turning the engine back on and all of that. But we managed to do it. Chess might be a bit closer to us now than he was before, but we are still somewhat safe. Meanwhile, Toretto also seems to be catching up on Chess, so that might be interesting, but that's something that I'm kind of want to try and avoid. Not getting caught up in that, having my own race here. Okay, now we skip ahead by quite a bit, because for a while nothing is going to happen. That's just really the laps that worked out in my favor. But yeah, the thing is, at this point, Ronhul had another pit stop. I still have a decent bit of fuel. Honestly, I should have just stopped here as well. This is another low fuel situation, and I should have maybe avoided that. But yeah, for a moment at least it looks like I might still be in the running for 4th place, but given that there is a pit stop between us, that's really not going to happen. But yeah, moving ahead a bit further. This is where we finally go around to my 2nd pit stop. And this is where we are going to lose Ronhul again. I mean, I can see Toretto approaching, who apparently also overtook Chess right there. So, yeah, Chess has fallen back by a position. I'm still in 5th. Toretto might also catch up to me, although there is a decent amount of space between us. But here we go for the last stint of the race. Stint, of course, being the time that you are out on the track between the start, pit stops, and the end. So in the end, it's gonna be 3 stints that I'm doing here, but they are all really uneven, which is a bit weird, but not too problematic. It works out with the fuel, and I don't have any problems with the tires right here. Okay, and with this we can now skip ahead to the final lap. It's also getting dark again, so the last lap is going to happen at night. That's just how it goes here. And overall I'm still doing well, and me having lower moonlight brightness settings doesn't really do much here, because we at least have street lights on the side. So for the most part this is really well illuminated. Even on this road here I can still see everything. It's gonna be a bit more of a problem in the 2nd race, but I don't want to spoil too much. Yeah, just going around the back end for the last time. And I think I'm pretty safe in my position as long as I don't do any major thing. Ronhul is definitely far away from me, and Toretto kinda kept a pretty decent gap. So yeah, we are about stable. Chess is also following behind, so yeah. If I made a major mess up, I could lose 1 or 2 positions, but at this point, I got my rhythm, I get the car a bit better, and therefore, this is alright. In the end, this is all kind of a warm-up for the next race, because the next race is quite a different beast. Here we got the convenience of just being able to really learn the track and just do it for quite a few laps. This is also kind of more interesting in a way because we get to overtake people who have been falling down the order. So a bit of lapping going on. But yeah, this is the end of the first race, 5th position, overall not too bad, and had quite a bit of fun here. But yeah, let's skip ahead to the next one, which we are starting in front of the heavy-duty dealership. So yeah, this is gonna be an all over the place kind of race. And yeah, I'll be showing you guys the first lap in full so you can get an idea of the track, which also means yeah, we're going to make this quite a long race. There aren't too many highlights though, so it should be alright. Might skip ahead a little bit until we finally start. It's not always that easy to get the right timing for the start. I want to have it at least a few seconds before the countdown. But yeah, doesn't always work. I had a bit of a slow start there, didn't really get going too well. I don't know if I slowed down to try and avoid something, but yeah, I fell back down the order a bit. At least I managed to stay off the flower banks there, and luggage just demonstrated that it's really not recommendable to use them. But yeah, with how lively the car can be, it can sometimes just pull you onto them, and not that much you can do about it, especially with some of the bumps in the road, the potholes. But yeah, I'm now in 5th position once more. Neri right in front of me, Chessbot ahead, and Ronhul in 2nd with Toretto in 1st. And we are just going towards Jeju City now. The entire track is basically another version of my Jeju Grand Tour with a lot of slight differences here and there, and also some major ones. But yeah, in the end it's kind of derivative of that. Decided to not go into the harbor though, so we are just going to be using that road and coming back around to Jeju City in a moment, which is also a prime spot for repair and refuel because it's right next to the track. For the next bit there are going to be a few options here and there, but they would be further away from the road, so you don't really want to do them. If you need to repair, now is a good time to do that. If you get damage after this point before Gangyang, you're going to lose a bit more time trying to sort that out. But yeah, 5th position, close enough to the people in front of me, so this is still all open. Neri is slightly overcooking the corner. I'm going off track and trying to get back on. Also going off track here and barely still hitting the checkpoint. Like that was uncalled for. But it was also something that I didn't have full control over, I would say. It wasn't really intentional like that. I'm also just trying to keep enough space for everybody on the track, so that we don't run into any incidents unnecessarily. Yeah, coming past the A-wall track there. And I think that was Ronhul. who kinda slid out there. Let's keep an eye out for a yellow car on the right here. And that looked like a really bad reset onto the track and should have maybe waited a bit longer. Yeah, sliding out, spinning out, and then just resetting back onto track. That's just... yeah. Thankfully didn't hurt me much more than that, but you can see the fallout from that, and it would have been much better if he just waited a bit on the side of the road. Maybe try to recover from where he ends up, or look more at the map for cars that are incoming before resetting. And I think some people might have gotten it worse and might actually now need repairs. I'm still good to go for the next bit, but this is something where you kinda really want an undamaged car if possible. And I completely overcooked it there. I think I went too far on the inside and got stuck on a ledge. And yeah, doing this turn right here back onto the ring road, and we are about to actually leave Jeju Island. Yes, this track includes the highway going across to Oji, just because I wanted a high-speed section. And this is just that. But yeah, this is really going to punish anybody who doesn't have their car in good condition, especially when it comes to engine and radiator damage. A bit of body damage like I have right now is still okay. Theoretically I could even go off the highway and into the repair stations at the racetrack there. Trying to avoid that because that's really quite the detour. But yeah, with a bit of drag, it's going to limit my top speed. It's going to make the car run a bit hotter because basically the car is facing more wind resistance now. So even at the same speed compared to an undamaged car, it's going to need to assert more power in order to overcome wind resistance. So I'm having lower top speed, everything is kind of warming up a bit more, and I'm just trying to feather the gas to not overheat but still have a decent pace. Getting closer to Capapri right there, but I'm also now overheating, so didn't work out quite as well. But thankfully I'm not the only one having to deal with that stuff. So yeah, Capapri, just getting also a bit of overheating, and I'm just overtaking them through that. Also we got Ron Hool right behind me, who I think is also overtaking Capapri right there. So yeah, losing 2 positions from one overheating is quite rough, but that's kind of what you have to deal with on the straights. So we are going up to the gas station now. Potentially a really good point for refueling. Not gonna do that though, because I'm looking at my fuel tank thinking, hey, I got half of it left. But the stretch over to Gangyang is a long one. Even though I'm almost doing it in the most direct way possible. But yeah, first up we have to go through this little section here and then make our way back on the highway. But yeah, here we go. Almost spinning out as I say it. So back on the highway. Still 2 people breathing down my neck, especially Capapri right there. So this thing is far from over. But it's also slowly getting dark. And I'm completely messing up that spot right there. You're supposed to stay on the tarmac if possible. So Capapri just taking the position, and Ronhul also rapidly approaching. I might be good in this place for right now. Not 4th anymore, but 5th is also kinda alright. We see Ronhul just behind us, but we are on about the same speed now. I can actually let it rip for a bit longer because the temperatures are alright. Allows me to overtake Capri again. We are about to come around to one of the trickier parts of the highway. And honestly, at this point, I really just kinda wish we had more checkpoints available. 50 is still the limit, and for a track like this, it's just not enough. I would like 2 or 3 on the straights there on the highway, just for updating the positions and the percentage. And also some on that chicanery bit there. But even right now, the checkpoints are really sparse. And it's also getting really dark at this point, so yeah, can barely see what's in front of me. No further than what my headlights are illuminating. And that caused me to completely miss this corner. And this is kind of one of those things that feels like bullshit, because I was fine going off track there until I hit that weird little pop there with the fishnet cargo stuff. So yeah, when the car started just doing flips and shit and accumulating a bunch of damage for no good reason. So yeah. The stretch back to Gangyang is usually a quick one, but not if you have damage like this, so this is really not going my way now. Falling back into 7th. So yeah, just gonna have to repair as soon as possible. Even if that means taking a little detour, because I don't wanna wait until Gangyang. But hitting that thing really wasn't great. If we had soft body physics on the cars here, I think I may have been permanently married to that pole that I hit there. But hey, quick repair. Almost flipped the car over for some reason. But I'm back on track, trying to not get into anybody's way. But just get going, just try to make up some pace. This is really where the darkness screwed me, and I should have maybe taken the seconds to just go into the menus and adjust my moonlight brightness. Getting reset back on track in reverse is also not all that amazing. But yeah, all that happened due to one of the potholes. Potholes, by the way, are going to be a bit reduced after the next update, or with the next update. I don't have any solid numbers on how many there are right now, but they should be a bit less frequent. I wish they also did something about the severity with which they affect the cars, but can't have everything. But you can apparently have the car going off into the river almost. So that's how luggage got past me. Yeah, that didn't really go my way, and at this point I'm slowly getting a bit frustrated. Also about to run out of fuel. So yeah, it's not always all the fun if things go wrong all the time. I was considering to maybe refuel a tiny bit, but my steering inputs kinda messed up all of that, and I just ended up refueling right in this space right there. The thing is, I got my start engine button mapped to almost the same button as it is for getting out of the car. Getting out of the car is X, starting engine LB plus X, so leaving the car is something that does sometimes happen if you are too much in a hurry. But yeah, this is also one of those areas that I'm trying to change the layout on. I'm not too happy about the speed bumps, because this is kind of a thing that they do with you. So going over them with speeds like that, for this car, definitely not a good idea. I currently have a version where I took out this exact path going back on the upper road and then through this section. and instead going into the serpentines and up on the road above the city. So one was coming up on the map to the left there. Not entirely sure if I want to keep it like that. I think I'm going to keep using that road, but if I had more checkpoints, I would likely make a different layout that is a bit more intricate through the town, slowing down the cars more, because even the main road that we come in on, there are a lot of weird bumps and squiggly bits of road that don't really work out too well. So slowing down the cars for that section by having a chicane in there would work out a bit better in my opinion. Not having so many stupid bumps would also work out, but yeah, here we go, a lot of unnecessary flips and all of that, getting a lot of damage again. At this point I'm just kinda done with the race. But yeah, still gonna carry it back to start finish, even with all the damage, and do another lap. So yeah, I might try and figure out a few more things for this particular track and just see if I can improve the route a bit further. I'm also considering to maybe just cut the entire Gangyang part and just go onto this road as soon as possible and just straight back to the industrial area for refueling and repairs. But that would also make the track much shorter, and I think Gangyang is kinda needed here. Maybe I could also include Gangyang before we go over to Oldley. I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, that's the track making side of this. Maybe if I come from the other direction I could come up with something a bit better. But yeah, that's kind of a problem with Gangyang. It's basically 3 different roads in the town, the one up north, and if you have to go in and out the same direction, you might have to use something that you don't otherwise really want to use. So we'll have to see if the track goes through further changes and adjustments after this, but right now I think I got a better version than what I've been using for the race, but I'm not 100% satisfied with it. But yeah, at least we are now getting back to the main stuff over here. Gonna have to refuel and also repair. And then we can skip ahead for the rest of the race. Really making it complicated getting into the repair stuff. It's just all not working too well, but sometimes it be like that. Okay, let's skip ahead. We can go over to 1930, which is a few minutes further ahead. And this is another big crash for me once again due to nighttime. Can barely see anything in front of me. I managed to get through the flower bank stuff, but at some point I'm just slightly too far off the track here. Didn't see it going to the left in time, and yeah. Don't know where all the damage came from, but it is something. And just at the end of the night, if I was maybe a bit slower, this would have been all avoidable because I could have seen where I go. Or once again, if after the first major crash I just up the moonlight brightness again. I did increase it after the race, but honestly I already decreased it again because I don't like driving around with that being on. Currently taking a bit of a break from racing. I'm also on the closed test version right now, and I think I might stay on there until we get into public testing, at which point I'll be making videos on the game again and also potentially getting back into the events. But right now, while I definitely enjoyed this event. I felt like I needed a bit of a break from part of this for a while. So yeah, I haven't participated in any event since. I've also not recorded anything further than that. And speaking of an S update, there are a few really cool things in there, but overall, when it comes to the gameplay content, a lot of it has to do with trucking, and some of it I enjoy, some of it I've also grown tired of already. So the next event, depending on, or the next update, depending on what they are still going to add, there might not be that much content from my end. It's just what it is sometimes. But yeah, we are going again, doing the, hopefully the whole thing now without damage. But yeah, we had our repair. 2330 should be a refuel at Bai Yang this time. Should have maybe gone to 2320 so that we can at least see me going into that space. It's kind of awkward from here because, yeah, it's in the middle of a corner. Just have to go off track like this and then come back later. Okay, going around here. Almost hitting a rock. Yeah, this didn't go well. I should have maybe tried to swing it around and leave the other direction. That would have been a bit smoother. But hey, I'm in last place anyways. Nothing's gonna change about that, so yeah. Next one is 2525. The little chicane bit. This is why I would like to have a checkpoint here, just to see the sides of the track a bit earlier. Have something to aim for, because that thing is just... it's kind of blind and very risky. Yeah, it just needed me to go further to the left than I anticipated and therefore completely crashed there. Then 2640 is going to be another repair. Kind of the same thing as before, going off track here, hopefully not hitting that thing again. Just being so over everything at this point, honestly. $28.10 is labeled I hate speed bumps. And this is why I don't want to go through Jeju City full bore. It's just... no thank you. So yeah, some of it might have to change at some point. And I think I'm also not faring too much better on the other ones, but it might not cause me to take any damage. Yeah, nothing too crazy. So, next one. Coming around here and, oh yeah, slightly clipping a tree. And completely flipping upside down. Thank you very much. And now to the end of this... whatever this is. Last turn, last checkpoint before we finish. Can you imagine that I don't really give much of a damn anymore at this point? And here we are, finally finished. And I'm just gonna let it run. I don't care. I'm done. Might have to do this again. Once I'm done updating the track and everything. Once I'm back into the swing with events. Not gonna be anytime soon though. But yeah, I still like the car. I'm still going to use it here and there. But yeah, the last race, it just didn't go well. Partially because of a nighttime thing, partially because of other reasons. But yeah, we'll see how it goes the next time around. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, see you guys next time, and as always have a good one and bye bye.